On this week's episode of the Crushing Debt Podcast, are you too nice with your money? So, welcome back to this week's episode of the Crushing Debt Podcast. My name is Shawn Yesner, owner and founder of Yesner Law. I am remote today in Tallahassee, Florida,
Ooh,
speaking to your financial coach, George Corbello. How you doing, George?
I am also remote, but I'm not in Tallahassee.
Tallahassee.
But anyway,
That's
yes. How you doing, brother?
that is kind of how it's spelled. I learned it or long ago when you grow up in Florida and you got to learn how to spell all the names of all the various
Sure.
cities. Tall A has C.
Well, there you go.
Tallahasee.
He's showing
Easy.
off now, folks. He's showing off, but it's okay. We'll
Easy.
allow you to show off it. But
Yeah.
no, I'm doing well, man. I gotta say, going back to school is that time of year, right? Well, when we're recording, it's that time of year. Kids are back to school. I'm sending my oldest to her senior year, so I'm very happy about that. Congratulations, Izzy, on that for sure. And
Nice.
then my senior for high school, Layla is getting ready for her senior year. She started, and obviously very excited for the both of them because as we get older, this adulting thing, as much as it feels cool to be like, yeah, I want to be an adult, like, trust me, just, be as slow as you possibly can when it comes to that. But
I
I'm very proud of them and where they want to be and how they're managing things so far.
I did see a post. It was from one of my friends. I gotta find it right now. Um, I gotta find it. It's I won't find it, but that's okay. Basically, it's like the dishes are paid, the bills are washed, the food is in the dryer, and the clothes are in the oven. I am so winning right now.
It sounds right. Check,
Yeah.
check, check. Just not in the right order or in the right place. But that's okay. You're still winning. So love
There
it.
you go. So yeah,
Love
so
it.
we've also started, although ironically, so I had to come up to Tallahassee. My mom is having just a small minor outpatient procedure. Hospital's
Sure.
already called me. She's fine. I'm just waiting to go pick her up now. But this is we're second week of school as we're listening to this. We're in the
Yeah.
first week of school as we're recording. And so both of my kids got to miss the first Friday of the new school year. But they are both in the same school.
Yeah, that's cool.
I get
I
one
remember
year.
that. I had one year, one glorious year where you just drive to one location and drop them off. So
Yep.
that's always good. And then, just, it goes away after one year.
There you go.
But enjoy it, my friend. This is good. This is a
So
good thing.
so what are we talking about today?
Well, apparently, you can be too nice with money. It's all about we want to have that generous nature, right? Being generous is a great thing. But when is being too generous when it comes to your finances, right? When does it become a problem? And I think that's what we're trying to kind of look into today. So let me ask you, are you considered a generous man, my friend, when it comes to your finances? I mean, your kids might say no, but I,
Yeah,
you know,
my kids are definitely going to say no. I don't know. I think my kids would say yes. I buy them a lot of stuff.
sure.
Um, but I think when I'm looking at this, I kind of break it down into three categories.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, friends and family.
Yep.
Number two, business. And then the other thing that kind of occurred to me here, and we've talked about this once before, is tipping. You know,
Tipping, you think is generosity as well. I like that. Okay. Okay.
yeah. In other words, and we did a full episode on this. I can track down the episode and put it in the notes if people want
Sure.
to listen to it. But typically when I tip, what I do is if I'm standing at the counter and I'm ordering and you're not gonna, wait on me. You're not gonna come see me at the table and take my drink order and take my
Yeah.
food order and run food back and forth from the kitchen. Then I'm not gonna tip because if you didn't do anything above and beyond what you get paid to do. Now, if they do go above and beyond, then maybe yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
then
throw
maybe.
them a
Right.
tip. But so here's a good example. I was at an FSU alumni event last weekend, and I was super hot. I was there to play drums for the FSU alumni band and play for all the boosters and all that stuff. So
Sure.
I'm
We
playing
saw the
drums.
pictures. Don't worry, they're on Facebook.
There you go. Yeah, pictures are all over Facebook. I got super hot. I got super sweaty, and all I wanted was a glass of water. So there's a bartender. I go up, I order a glass of water. I pound that because I'm so thirsty. Order another one. I ended up ordering a third one, and I ended up giving her, I think like a
Sure.
$5 bill because she didn't. The place was closed. We were just there to rehearse. She didn't necessarily have to serve me, and I was ordering water, taking her away from
The other
people that
things.
would pay for drinks. So I was like, you know what the heck? And I threw her a $5 tip because in my mind she went above and beyond what she was there to do
Makes
uh,
sense.
in helping me. But if I'm at a Starbucks counter, if I'm at a Chick-fil-A counter, if I'm at a one of those types of places and it says will you tip, I typically don't. So I
Right.
guess from that perspective people might call me mean with my money
Right.
or
You're
not
not very
nice.
nice. You're not
I'm
very
not.
nice. Well, let me give you another scenario then. It's like, have you ever said yes to lending money when your gut is screaming to you no? Don't do
i
it.
I have so one two things. Number one, I've never loaned money to a friend or family member.
Okay. Is that a rule? Is that what's your thought there?
I mean, in my line of work, I see too many families that fall apart over that kind of stuff, and so I just don't want to get
So
there.
that's just the rule you've set for yourself.
Right.
Kind of like,
Now, if my sister calls and says, "Hey, I need, some money for this or that," I'll give her the money. I don't care about
right.
loan.
So there's that you'll just say, hey, there's no strings attached. Here you go.
Right.
Okay.
But the other kind of rule of thumb is you never loan out, and this is I'm not talking about if you enter into a business transaction with someone. I'm talking about
Yeah.
friends, family,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
You never loan out money that you don't want back. If they pay it back, great, but don't expect that they'll pay it back. If you loan it out, expect that you're never going to see it again.
If you're giving it, so again, it depends on how you define it, right? So am I lending you money with an expectation that this is coming back? How do you protect yourself in that scenario? But I would agree if you're giving money away, like, hey, you're in a time of need, and I'm providing you with this money. That's a very different scenario, right? So I think you have to protect yourself in both
Right,
of those situations, right? The one thing that I've noticed when it comes to giving or lending money, a lot of times too, we talk about statistics, right? But I think I've seen on in the internet trends that you see, right? But it looks like 1 in 3 people actually give financial help, even if it hurts their own finances. Like, what's the thought process there? Like, because what we do see in some of these, it's good to be generous, but then they impact their own self-preservation, right? They like the things like, would you not pay the mortgage in order to help out a family member? Like, is that something that even comes to mind? Because that's what some people, when we talk about generosity, that's the kind of the level that we're looking for. Is there boundary? There's no boundaries in that if you think it that way.
right. I think that to me is the issue is that I don't know that I would ever lend money to a friend or family member without something in writing that says, here are the terms to pay it back. But if I did loan it out, I think I would do it. And hopefully no one listens to this podcast and wants to borrow money from me. But I think I would do it from the perspective of if I get it paid back, great, but I'm not going to pay it back. Now, publicly, I'm going to tell the person, yeah, you have to pay me back. But I don't know that I could do something that would hurt my own self interest. It's the whole concept of you put the oxygen mask on yourself
Yeah,
first and then you put it on your kid or your friend or your family or whatever. If I
correct.
couldn't if I couldn't afford to if someone came to me and said I need to borrow X amount of dollars and I don't have it. I'm not going to jeopardize myself to help somebody else. Now, if it's a close friend, my best friend, if it's a close family member, something like that, then I might have to reconsider.
And again, that's where for you, those are the boundaries that you've set. A lot of times when people are in this situation, they have no boundaries. They just it's here you go, or it's one extreme over the other, right? So I think it's really understanding what your boundaries are specifically because we tend to say it's good to have boundaries when it comes to our relationships, right? Why is that there's no difference that when we talk about money, right? You still
Right.
want to have those boundaries that are set to say, like, you have met the, you've said it where it's like, it's not that I don't want to. It changes the relationship if you're borrowing money or if you're, there's a money transaction that happens because that's what it is. It's a transaction that
Right.
you're still having. Even if it's giving someone money, it's still a transaction that we're providing. It doesn't it change for me, it changes the relationship, but does it change the relationship? Is that me just overthinking things?
No, I it shouldn't, but it does. Because the
Yeah.
challenge is if that money doesn't get paid back or if it does get paid back. And one of the other things that that kind of leads to something we were talking about prior to recording, you've got to document. I don't care. I did my mom and dad loaned my sister some money years and years and years and years ago.
Hmm.
I actually created, before my dad sent my sister that money, I created a note and a mortgage that I recorded against my sister's house. And that way, if something happened to my sister and brother-in-law before they could pay it back, my parents knew they would still get that money out of the sale of their house. So if you're going to do these types of transactions, even with friends or family members, put it in writing. One of the things that I see a lot of people get in trouble with is, someone will loan, so mom will loan the daughter money and
Yeah.
daughter will pay back the mom or dad or whoever
Yeah.
involved.
Whoever. Yep.
And then the person that received the money, the person that took out the loan that's paying it back, has to file bankruptcy. But there's no documentation to show
Ugh.
how much was borrowed, what
Right.
interest rate, what are the payment or the repayment terms, is there a security interest? None of those documents exist. And so then the person who borrowed the money, who's paying it back, has to go file bankruptcy. Well, that creates two different challenges. Number one, the trustee is and the judge is probably going to assume that because this money came from a friend or family member and was not documented, it was a gift.
Mm.
And and so number two, the payback of that money, the trustee and the judge are going to take the position and say, well, wait a minute. Why did you pay back mom, dad, aunt, uncle, friend instead of paying back Visa, MasterCard, and Discover? And it's going to be what's called a preferential payment. And the trustee could have the authority to go after whoever loaned the money that is getting repaid. The trustee could sue that person to say, wait a minute, why are you being paid when Discover isn't being paid? And we all know the reason. I
Yeah.
mean, if I had to pay my mom or if I had to pay Discover, I'm going to pay my mom. So everyone gets it. It's reasonable. But whether it complies with bankruptcy law or not is a totally different subject.
That makes sense. I mean, I mean, so many things that are involved there. Why do we still do it then? Why do we think like we actually still look to borrow money? I rely on my parents as my emergency fund. Is that something that we that happens though,
It
right?
happens.
And we put but what happens in those situations, right? Like, why do we do it? Is it for me? It could be guilt. It could be, like, maybe just irresponsibility. It could be anything of those, that can put you in there. I also look at it too, where it's like we have cultures that push for like you got to, in regards to family obligation, right? And paying and payment. So there's this, expectation to be generous. Um, Religion also puts us in that position as well, where again, giving is a good thing. But is there, again, the question comes back to is like, is that the reason why we do it? Is that especially when we don't have boundaries, but we just continuously put ourselves in that negative position? That's where it's just wondering where people would be in regards
Yeah,
to that situation. That's all.
religion is kind of a tricky subject
Yeah.
because there have been times where the I've wanted to make a donation and I just don't have it.
Yep.
And luckily the temple that I belong to is like, you know what, pay us what you can. We
Right.
know you're good for it. We know you're going to pay it, so just pay us what you can, and then when you can make up the rest, you can make up the rest. And I don't want this to be uh, any kind of criticism of any kind of religion or not, but I know that there is one religion that relies heavily on donations from its members,
Yep.
and I get a lot of them that come to me that end up wanting to file bankruptcy, not because they made donations to their
No,
church,
right, right.
but because they made donations to their church to the exclusion of paying creditors. And they're all worried about, is the church going to throw me out if I file bankruptcy? Is the trustee
I
going to
hope
sue
not.
the church if I file bankruptcy? By and large, the answer to those questions is no,
Right.
but it's still an issue that we have to deal with. I mean,
It's a
tithing is
personal issue.
allowed. The
Yeah.
Constitution allows us to tithe to our church. It's the separation of church and state.
Right.
I've, in my personal experience, I've never seen a trustee go after a religious organization because my client paid, whatever
Them something.
tithing they
Right.
paid.
Right. Right.
Now, if the tithing was unreasonable, if I make, if I bring home 5 grand a month and I'm paying the church 4 grand a month, maybe.
Yeah.
But by and large, it is a big issue that a lot of people that donate to their church when they come to me, or their synagogue or wherever,
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Right.
they're worried about it when they come to me. And so I think, you go back to we've talked about the green light cards I got for my kids many times. 70% of their allowance goes into their green light account,
Yep.
20% of their allowance goes into the savings account,
Yep.
10% goes into the giving account.
It's like you've read these kind of these percentages and things.
Right.
Amazing.
If you
70,
can't
20,
afford
30. Love it.
if you can't afford 10, make it 5,
Right. I
you
make the
know?
adjust, but as long as you're doing each of the right, what are the three things you can do with money, right? You spend it, you save it, you give it. That's it. For me, I always look at it as if you can balance those three, you're doing well.
Right. And it doesn't have to be 70, 20, 10. It can be 75, 15,
50, 50,
whatever.
whatever. It just, but that's the idea. It's that, but most of us go into this without a plan. We don't go into it. We're just thinking like, right now it's all about bills or what about this? And I think that's the thing we need to try to do differently when we talk about like, am I being too nice? So it's like, it depends on you. It's your situation.
So here's an interesting one. I found this article on psychologytoday.com.
And it's got to be a good one.
It's called "It's Better to Be Mean Than Nice When It Comes to Money."
Of course.
So here's the first example that the author gives. So I'm going to get your opinion on this.
Go for it.
You're out to dinner with friends, and when the check arrives, there's that awkward moment when the question arises on how we're going to split our payments. So do you split, if it's you and another family, do you split 50-50? Or if it's you and a bunch of friends, do you split it evenly? Because what if you have two alcoholic drinks and one of your friends doesn't drink at all?
Right.
Do you split it? Do you pay your share? What do you do?
It is. I mean, that's always the crazy one. So for me, like when I go out, it's one of those where, but I think for me, it's more of like it depends on the friend, of course. Like my good friend, they coming in September. I'm like, dude, this is not half and half. I'll take the bill. Like, or he's gonna take. It's gonna be like a fight on like one of us taking the bill, which is weird. But we're gonna do. That's what we do. So, but some people have a different opinion and like, no, I want to know. Like, I only have one drink with this kind of thing. I'm just like, okay, like, hey, I, I'm not gonna be mean about it either, right? If we went out, right? We broke bread and we like, and you told me like, no, 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 let's, you did 40, you did 20, I'm not gonna be like, oh my goodness, Shawn, you're a horrible person. What is wrong with you? Oh, you're muted, but yeah, that's okay.
I don't want to do that math.
Exactly. That's for me. That's how I'm looking at it. I'm like, yeah, I know I'm a financial coach, but I don't want to do that kind of math. That's all I don't want. I'm good with you there.
So when I go out with my mom, she wants to pay. And
Of course,
so
of course.
fine, I'll let her pay. When I go out with my mother-in-law, typically we split the bill 50-50.
Sure.
And that's, what, I don't care, whatever, that's fine. Um, when I go out with a friend of mine, we go out on a regular basis, me and my kids and him and his kids, or maybe
Yeah.
him and his wife and his kids. And typically we'll split it with, hey, give
Right.
me the bill for me and my kids, and he'll take the bill for him and his wife and kids.
Situationally. That makes sense. That makes
And
sense.
if you and I went out and you said, "No, Shawn, let me pick up the bill this time," which you haven't done yet for some strange reason.
And that's a good idea. That's a, oh yeah, yeah, good point. Good
I
point.
would I would say, okay, let me take the bill next time.
Sure. And that makes sense. And that's the thing. Like for me, I don't want to make it, uncomfortable. So I think, obviously our listeners probably all have these different. Well, it depends. Like if we went with the kids, I'd probably be like, because my kids are monsters eating, so I would never be like, yeah, you got this one. No, no, let's make sure we split the bill. But if it's just like adults going out, I mean, again, the young generation to just Venmo the number.
Yeah,
Don't worry, I'll pay it. Just give me what you can. That's the other. It's the mentality that where it's like we want to make the situation easy when it comes to going out and just having a good time, especially if it's friends. It's very
yeah.
different. So I totally get you there. That's
So
funny though.
here's another funny story, weird story. So we went. It was me and my boys and my mother-in-law. We went out to dinner a week ago, 2 weeks ago,
Yeah,
whatever, and we went to Wingstop. Wings and
yeah, yeah,
fries
yeah.
and whatever. And so the boys get up, they order. I get up, I order. My mother-in-law gets up, she orders. I throw down my credit card. I pay for all four of us. We walk back into the car after eating dinner. My mother-in-law hands me like $10. And I said, what is this? She said, you don't have to pay for me. I was like,
Yeah.
it's not like we went to Burns and you had a
Right.
$150 steak. You had some chicken nuggets, for crying out loud. Um, so I
But
said,
it's the thought that counts. Thank you.
it's
Right.
I
Thank you.
appreciate it. Yeah, she
Exactly.
insisted that I take it. So
Sure.
I split it between the boys. So
So,
whatever.
so some of the other red flag, I think you did some really good stuff on the red flagging already, meaning you lend it without a plan, right? So
Right.
you have to have a plan when it comes to lending. That's a red flag if you're being too nice. Like it just, of course, if you're giving way more than you get, right? It's more money at the end of the month than month at the end of the money. So
Is that how that saying goes?
that's how that saying goes. So that still plays into that. For me, if you don't pay other bills because you're being generous, that could, again, you're putting yourself in a situation that could be detrimental to to your budget. So that's another, for me, that's a red flag that you may
Right.
be too nice. Um, it's hard to say no. Like with lending, it's like it's still like where's the boundary where it's okay to say no and not feel guilty. And the other thing too is if you still say yes, but then there's a feeling of resentment later. Like that's when for me, those are the red flags. Like it's like, maybe, you're a little too nice with the money.
Yeah, I mean, in my 50 some odd years on this planet, I have learned to trust my gut because every time I get a
Yeah.
weird feeling in my gut, it ends up turning out the way that I thought it might turn out. So, yeah, I think if somebody had asked me for money, whether I wanted to help them or not, I think it would be something that if my gut was telling me no, I
Yep.
would. And I guess I could probably say something along the lines of, look, I would love to help you, but right now I'm a little bit strapped
Right.
financially.
Being honest. Sure.
What else can I do outside of money to help
This
you?
guy. Like it's like the future, what I'm gonna like, what are the boundaries? And he's already like, how can I help you without cash? So that's one of the like when we try to set boundaries, right? This is like you don't have to say no, but is money the only option when we talk about lending? When it's time to giving to people, right?
Yeah,
It's easy to give money sometimes, right? But offering, you just said, can I offer my skills? Can I
when
offer my time?
I was in law school, there was a restaurant that we used to go to that we loved, and we would go there, once a week, whatever. And one day we noticed a homeless guy sitting outside, and we never finished. I mean, the portions were so big, we could never finish our food. We always brought home leftovers.
Sure, sure.
And so I remember this one particular night, um, we were leaving the restaurant. We see this homeless guy sitting out there. We all gave him our leftovers
The
and
leftovers,
said,
right?
"Here, enjoy." Rather than, because you never know. And again, I don't want to
We don't
stereotype.
judge. I get it.
I don't want to judge. I don't want to
Yep.
stereotype. But if you give somebody money and you don't know, are they going to go out to buy food, or
Or
are they going
something
to go out
else,
to
right?
buy a hotel, or are they going to go out to do something improper with the money? You never know. But
Sure,
if I give them
sure.
food, I know there's only one thing they're going to do with it. So
And if they're in need, it's still something they need. If they were going to buy the, money, use the money to buy food, you're already taking care of a necessity that they're already looking for as part of that. So
Right.
that totally makes sense. Well, the other thing you had mentioned too is kind of like defining it. Is it a gift or is it a loan? And
Right.
truly defining that, like that makes it a lot easier. Again, this is setting boundaries. So, that's another way to set the boundary as well. If you can't afford to never see the money again, you have to say no, right? That's what I'm thinking.
If you can't afford to part with the money, then you have to say no. If you can afford to
Yeah.
part with the money and you want to be generous with your money, knock yourself out. I mean, that's I would make sure I document it though. And here's the other thing, and this may lend itself to an entirely different podcast, but if you're going to lend it to somebody, call an attorney and have
Yeah.
it's going to cost you a couple of bucks, but have the documents drawn up, because there's been so many times, not only, and this may be a good transition into how to be nice from the corporate perspective,
Yeah.
but if you loan somebody money in a business transaction and you don't document it properly, they may you may have a court saying they don't have to pay you back.
Correct.
Hasn't been documented properly. So for the couple of $100 it's going to take to consult with an attorney, even if it's, you're loaning $1 million and you don't want to pay, a couple thousand to protect $1 million loan, give me a break. I would
Yeah.
say go to an attorney, have the documents drawn up, save yourself, because that's really where people ask me all the time as an analogy. I've got this small business with a partner. Heck, I did this with you, George. Remember,
Yeah,
you signed an agreement to be co-host of the podcast.
I did.
When things are going well and the podcast is doing well and it's generating the numbers and we're getting guests and we're getting good downloads and we're communicating and we're on the same page, I can't even tell you the last time I pulled out that document to look at it. It's gathering dust
Right.
somewhere in my office. But if something goes sideways, it's good to know that we have those documents
Yeah.
in place that
You're
govern
protected. I get it. Yeah.
what
The
ha-
podcast is protected. Yep.
but the same applies if you're going to loan money to somebody. If
Yep.
if if you loan money to somebody, business wise, personal wise, whatever, if you loan money to somebody and you've got it documented, there's clear boundaries on what you expect to happen in return. If if they pay you back, you're never going to look at those documents. If they don't pay you back, you're going to be happy you have it.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly. The only thing that I would suggest as well is another kind of strategy when it comes to setting your boundaries. We say about impulse buying, right? Have that pause. It's the same thing with giving, right? So
Yeah.
you never have to provide an answer right away. Hey, could I borrow this and this and that? The line I would use there, well, let me review my situation and my budget, and let me get back to you tomorrow. Let me get back to you at another date.
Yeah.
It's not even saying no. It just allows you to kind of like, well, before I impulse give, right? I have the ability to say, like, is this a good idea? Is this a loan or a gift? You get to ask yourself these questions and answer them without having the pressure of being able to give an answer on the spot. So I think
Right.
I think that's huge. Again, different ways to manage how we deal with these situations. This is you building boundaries, and it's not you being mean, right? It's just you protecting yourself in and making sure that you're not going to have these regrets or resentment feelings later because of something you could have easily prevented. That was the case.
Yeah. No, I agree with you.
So,
So
and it's funny how I think of it like, oh, a few $100s here and there. Corporate and business, you got a few thousands and millions. And it's like, dude, it doesn't matter what zeros you're putting. You need to have some of those boundaries to make sure that you don't put yourself and your business in a position later down the road where it's going to be detrimental
yeah.
to the success of yourself or the success of the business.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. I
Yeah,
think
once in a while, I appreciate like guys record that. He says I completely agree with you, so I'll take that as a win today on this
every
date.
every once in a while a blind squirrel finds a nut. Is that how it
I
works?
love it. So
So
I like it, man. I think for our listeners, what are some of your scenarios? Is there other ideas, right, or other boundaries that you think that you can think of that you say like, how do I protect myself? How do I protect my relationship? How do I to protect my money? My wallet, if you want to even go there. And it sounds funny, but it's like, why, like this is what we got to do.
Well, and I think that's a really good point that you bring up. How do I protect the relationship? Because if somebody asks me for money and it's a substantial amount of money,
Sure.
and I say to them, look, I would love to help you. I really want to help you, but that I can't afford to loan
Yep.
you that amount of money.
Yep.
And that causes the relationship to fail.
Mm.
Have you really lost anything?
Gives you a bigger or a more of a reality to this to the relationship you have. I would
Right.
agree. If your relationship was dependent on money or giving or you providing for someone else, it's something I would question.
Yeah.
It's you're not the villain, I would say, in that situation if that was the case.
Right.
For me, that's a red flag, and even in a relationship as well. So sometimes we need those to be able to go, is this person a true friend? Is this
Right.
person truly the intentions there to be the best person in my situation? So I don't know. Tough,
Yeah.
man. Tough. But I
Yeah.
I would say it's important to have those boundaries, but I understand the emotional ties that are to that. And to our business owners, we understand that sometimes, we want to give back to the community, but we have to be careful on um, what we're giving up or what we're putting ourselves in order to get that, to provide that giving to whoever or whatever you're doing.
Right. Right. Well, cool. I think that probably brings us to the end of the episode.
I would say, yeah, I think
Yeah.
I've given you enough of my time, Sean. That
There you go.
I'm kidding.
I've
I'm kidding.
I've given you plenty of my time. So the only thing that we have to mention from here is that if you want to give to us with no expectation that we will ever pay you back, you can go to patreon.com/crushing debt. That's where you can give to us to help support the show. Um, Other than that, I think we have reached the end.
Yeah, I would say, uh, practice understanding your boundaries and really look for ways to be able to strengthen it with yourself as well as family as well as friends. But you're not a villain. It's one thing that I would say. Sometimes we put ourselves in that. But yeah, my friend, it's always a pleasure.
Yes,
I
sir.
hope everything's good with your mom, obviously, but every situation right there. But
Yeah,
we all
just
as
wait.
listeners, we are saying, you know, hope everything is good, Sean.
Thank you. I did get a call from the hospital that she's doing well. So as soon as they make sure she's awake and moving, I can go pick her up, and then
Nice,
I get to spend the weekend in Tallahassee with my mom, and we're gonna see my sister at some point. I may see some of
nice.
my other friends. So yeah, it'll be a good quick getaway before we get into the real craziness of fall.
We have fall in the floor. Yeah, that's right. It's just hotter.
There's 4 seasons in Florida. So
Okay,
there's
I'll let you end. Let's end the show with a good one. What are the
okay,
four seasons there?
hurricane season, love bug season, football season,
Ooh,
and summer.
okay, there you go.
That's
You
it.
learned it here, only on this show. You've learned it. You learned it here, guys. I
That's
love
it.
it.
Those are the 4 seasons in the state of Florida. So don't be too nice with your money. Don't be too mean with your money. And then you will have more money at the end of the month than month at the end of the money. And we'll talk to you in next week's episode.